So, as of 2023, what can we say about the status of climate services for health? I'm not reading the whole section here. Of course, I'm being very brief, but you can follow up. There are other reports as well that are more regional based. What's India doing, for example, or how well it is doing, and whether it's being very successful, because India's obviously got a very good disaster management agency now, and number of deaths in natural hazards has been reduced greatly. But it's a large country with all kinds of climate zones, mountains and coastal cities and so on, so vulnerabilities are high, developing country, etc. So this information is broader, just in the larger context of the current status of climate services for health. As we said before in the last podcast, there is a huge potential for enhancing the benefits of climate science and climate services for people's health and well-being. For tropical countries, it's especially true. Overview of generalized climate service capacities, so it is not sector specific. Here, just as a note, percentages in the pie chart are based on 193 WMO members, the World Meteorological Organization members, with absolute numbers in parentheses. The information in figure 9 represents 14 members whose data have been validated by international certified auditors. They are Botswana, Jamaica, Argentina, Nepal, United Republic of Tanzania, Laos People's Democratic Republic, Niue, Oman, Nigeria, Greece, Timor-Leste, Peru, Philippines, and Croatia. So here, in terms of just the generalized climate services capacities, not for any specific sector, not for health, so it's obviously advanced in Canada, US, Russia, large parts of Europe, China, India, also parts of Africa, Middle East, and you have Australia and some Southeast Asia. So some have very advanced, some have a full climate service, some have enough in terms of essential climate services, some have basic climate services here, and some are less than basic, and often there is no data, like in this should be Burma here. So obviously this is tricky, because many countries here may be getting to the level of basic or essential with the help of neighboring countries, or with the help of WMO and other agencies like NASA and NOAA and so on and so forth. It doesn't matter how they get it, as long as they are doing it properly, that's well. But in terms of percentages, only 11%, so 21 countries are in an advanced climate service mode, 20% are in a full service mode, 34% are at the essential level, and 18% in basic, 4% less than essential, and 13% have not reported any data. WMO member weather services capacity is calculated as a percentage of functions satisfied of NMHS's providing data, categorized as less than basic, basic or essential, and full or advanced categories of functions satisfied respectively. Again, not sector specific. This is of course National Meteorological and Hydrological Services. So if you look again, advanced, full, essential, and basic, number of countries, advanced is only 20%, 31% are full, and essential at 10%, and 39% are at basic, which basically points out that we have a long way to go in terms of covering everybody under climate services in general, not just for health. And why is this important? Because the global economy is connected. Either you are buying or selling things to somebody or the other, and a typhoon that hits the Philippines, my favorite example, and because there is good calculations that have shown it from the 2011 Typhoon Haiyan example, that they affected the economies across the world. So everybody has to be resilient, and the global economy is only as resilient as the weakest country in the system, and the weakest country in the system has to get beyond the basic weather services and get to at least essential or full, if not advanced at some point. And the more the rich country is vulnerable in terms of its economy or security, because insecurity is related to lacking weather and climate services in one region, let's say in Somalia, which has a basic weather service, can end up creating national security issues, terrorism issues, and geopolitical issues, and so on for everybody, right? So what happens in Russia and Ukraine, for example, affects everybody through energy supply, fertilizer supply, and many other things. Similarly, for health, we learned from COVID that nobody is immune. Diseases cross the boundaries, and climate and weather cross the boundaries. So everybody is vulnerable, and everybody has to be made resilient in this sense. Okay, breakdown of the diverse range of climate services provided by the National Met and Hydrological Services to the health sector globally in particular. So these are percentages based on 193 WMO members with absolute numbers in parameters. So you have data services, yes, no data. So this is breakdown of diverse range of climate services provided by NMHSs. Okay, so climate monitoring, only 61% have that, and many have none of that. Climate analysis and diagnostic, see how the numbers keep dropping. Climate predictions, lower. Climate change projections, I'm not sure this is a bad thing. I'm not even sure India should be wasting resources on doing climate projections. Let the rich countries do it and provide it. So these countries are doing it, let them do it, and others can use it, because unless they get specific or can be downscaled by the countries who are not doing it, let's say here 92 countries, it's not very useful. So if risk as provided by IPCC that we looked at, can it be meaningfully downscaled to a region? That's not clear right now. So does that mean each country has to do projections on its own? It's supremely expensive. Computer power generate used, and energy used can break economies if they are not rich countries. Okay, tailored products, it's higher, 50% of them do it, but 37% are still missing. Okay, so we'll come back and look at what the barriers are to co-producing and implementing climate services for health. I'm leaving this short just to focus on one sector. I can just add more points, but you get the point that climate and weather services are being now recognized as very important for everybody, not only for health, but also for agriculture, for water, for energy, for transportation. And as you know from flight cancellation, bad weather in one place can cascade throughout the global chain, especially within a country, because planes are going from one place to another and coming back. So if they get stuck somewhere, the entire system can get delayed inordinately, and people, it's very common for people to get stuck in airports by cyclones, floods, and other issues, right? Winter storms and so on and so forth. So one can hardly underestimate the importance of weather service and climate service, not only for health, for all sectors. We'll come back and talk about barriers. Okay.